Jimmy Haslam isn't just watching the Cleveland Browns right now. He's boiling behind the scenes. Because what should have been a promising chapter for franchise has quickly morphed into a PR disaster, a leadership crisis, and a potential quarterback exodus. And the center of the storm? Head coach Kevin Stefanski and his ice-cold handling of Shedeur Sanders. Let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Shedeur didn't start this mess. He walked into Cleveland with confidence, composure, and a football pedigree that most rookies would kill for. The kid's been media trained since Pop Warner. He knows what to say. He knows how to move. And more importantly,
if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
So when he confidently said during an interview that he believes he could start for most NFL teams, that wasn't arrogance. That was reality. But instead of leaning into that moment, using it to build excitement, show belief in the future, even just validate the confidence of his own player, Stefanski threw a cold, wet blanket on the whole thing. His response? Dry, dismissive, vague at best, belittling at worst. It came across like a teacher publicly mocking a student for thinking too highly of himself. Not a great look for a franchise already known for chewing up and spitting out young quarterbacks. And Haslam? He noticed. Fast. Because Stefanski didn't just brush off a question. He brushed off the face of the future. A player Haslam personally backed. A player who, whether Stefanski likes it or not, sells jerseys, headlines, and hope. You don't disrespect a franchise's potential golden goose on national TV and expect that to go unnoticed by ownership. And now, behind closed doors, the knives are out. There are whispers, sure, but they're getting louder by the day. Stefanski's seat is heating up, and you don't need sources to see why. His coaching philosophy is stuck in second gear. Conservative play calling, inexplicable loyalty to veterans like Joe Flacco, and a refusal to even experiment with the talent at his disposal. Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, fresh, dynamic, hungry quarterbacks, all sitting on the sidelines while the Browns limp through another uneven season. If it feels like deja vu, that's because it is. Cleveland has been recycling this storyline for over a decade. Exciting rookie QB, early fan hype, organizational mishandling, eventual trade, or benching and then repeat. But this time, the stakes are higher. Because Shedeur isn't just talented. He's calculated. He's playing the long game. And while he's staying professional now, answering questions calmly, keeping his ego in check, you better believe he's taking mental notes. The man grew up watching his father, Deion Sanders, reinvent the entire coaching model at Colorado. He knows what leadership looks like. He knows what support looks like. And he knows when someone's trying to stifle him. Right now, Stefanski's sending a clear message. We don't believe in you yet. The Browns might as well put that on a billboard. And that's where Haslam's frustration hits its peak. Because from an owner's perspective, this is a nightmare. You've got a quarterback with star power, media pull, fan engagement, and genuine leadership qualities. And your head coach is acting like he's some four-string developmental project. The Browns needed a spark. They got one in Shedeur. But instead of pouring fuel on the fire, Stefanski is busy finding the nearest extinguisher. Haslam knows how this ends if nothing changes. A fractured locker room, a frustrated rookie, a media circus, and eventually a trade request. It's happened before, and it'll happen again unless someone slams on the brakes and reroutes this train. But don't get it twisted. Shedeur doesn't want to leave. He wants to play. He wants to lead. He wants to prove he's as good as he says he is. He's doing everything right. He shows up early. He speaks respectfully. He praises the veterans. He takes mental reps. He's not causing drama. He's responding to it with composure. And it's that composure that's making front offices around the league drool. Because if Cleveland doesn't want him, there are plenty of teams that do. Teams that are quarterback-starved. Teams that are in rebuild mode. Teams that would kill to have a confident, talented young QB with a built-in fan base and a chip on his shoulder. The Panthers, the Raiders, the Giants, the Falcons. Don't think they aren't watching. Because when a franchise fails to recognize the value of their own player, someone else will. And when you combine that potential departure with the mounting criticism of Stefanski's coaching, you've got the perfect storm. Let's not forget, this isn't the first time Haslam's considered a coaching change. The man has fired coaches for less. And Stefanski's current track record isn't buying him a ton of grace. Yes, he had success. Yes, he's respected in some circles. But when you consistently ignore youth development, double down on stale play calling, alienate key players with passive-aggressive pressers, you're not building a future. You're managing decline. The clock is ticking. The fans feel it. The media feels it. And most importantly, Haslam feels it. What's holding him back? Probably timing. Optics. Not wanting to pull the plug mid-season unless the locker room fully turns. But if this tension drags on, if Shedeur continues to ride the bench while Cleveland's offense stumbles, something has to give. And you know what's wild? This whole thing could have been avoided with a little vision, a little imagination. A coach who said, let's see what the kid can do. A coach who looked at Sanders not as a threat to the system, but as a shot in the arm to an offense that desperately needs one. A coach who understood that greatness doesn't come from playing it safe. Instead, Stefanski chose comfort, familiarity, predictability. And in the NFL, that's how you get beat. On the field and off it. Because the modern league rewards boldness. Coaches who adapt, who evolve, who empower their talent instead of suppressing it. And right now, that's not Kevin Stefanski. That's the problem. And Shedeur Sanders, with all his professionalism and poise, has somehow become the accidental symbol of everything Stefanski isn't. So where does this go from here? Best case scenario? Stefanski course corrects. He swallows his pride, gives Shedeur reps, finds ways to integrate both veterans and youth. Maybe even talks to his players like they're humans and not chess pieces. Worst case? Stefanski gets stubborn. The season spirals. Shedeur requests a trade in the offseason. Haslam blows it all up again. And Cleveland becomes yet another cautionary tale in how not to handle a young star. It's all up to the leadership now. Because Shedeur already proved who he is. The only question left? Will the Browns recognize it before it's too late? What do you think? Is Haslam justified in considering a coaching change? Is Stefanski holding back a future star in Shedeur Sanders? Or is this all part of some bigger plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This drama is just getting started, and you're going to want to be here for the next twist. And if you love stories where football meets fireworks, where talent clashes with old-school coaching, and where billionaires start sweating under pressure, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because Cleveland's got problems, and we're just getting to the good part. The Browns don't just have a Shedeur Sanders problem. They have a leadership void, a vision deficit, and a franchise culture that somehow finds new ways to waste talent, like it's part of the playbook. Let's call it what it is. The team is stuck in a time loop of mediocrity, a cycle of hope, hype, dysfunction, and disappointment. And somehow, Shedeur has become the latest pawn in the chess match between an outdated coaching philosophy and an owner who's finally starting to lose his patience. Because Jimmy Haslam didn't spend the offseason pushing for Sanders just to see him sit behind a soon-to-be-retired Joe Flacco, while Kevin Stefanski acts like giving reps to a rookie is some dangerous social experiment. Let's be honest. What does Stefanski actually gain by benching Shedeur? Security? No. The offense is sputtering. Stability? Hardly. The locker room is restless. Reputation? Definitely not. Media and fans are tearing him apart weekly. He's not protecting the team. He's protecting his own playbook, one that's clearly expired, one that's allergic to risk, one that thinks upside is something you wait 5 years to see rather than unleash today. The NFL isn't a patient league anymore. This isn't 2002. You don't get 3 years to groom a young quarterback. You develop on the fly. You adjust. You build around strengths, not suppress them with wait your turn energy. And Shedeur? His turn is now, whether Cleveland's ready or not. Because the truth is, Shedeur Sanders didn't just walk in with talent. He walked in with a following. He brought fan engagement. He brought marketability. He brought relevance to a team that has been background noise for years. The Browns are rarely the main character in the NFL conversation. But the second Shedeur landed in Cleveland, that changed. Clips of him throwing lasers at training camp, viral. Mic'd up moments, trending. Off-field interviews, getting dissected like presidential speeches. This man moves a needle. And you don't keep someone like that on the sidelines unless you want to spark a mutiny among your fan base and send your owner into DEFCON 1. You can feel it already. Every post-game presser where Stefanski dodges questions about Sanders gets clipped and reposted with side eyes and clown emojis. Every third and long that ends in a check down while Shedeur sits helmet on, silently waiting, that's not just a misplay. It's a missed era in the making. The narrative is building whether Stefanski likes it or not. And once that train starts moving, it's really hard to stop. Let's break this down even further. Why exactly is Kevin Stefanski afraid to play Shedeur? Is it the youth? The pressure? The backlash if things go wrong? Or is it the fact that Shedeur represents a kind of new age quarterbacking that Stefanski doesn't know how to coach? Because let's be real, Shedeur isn't your classic system guy. He's got mobility. He's got improvisation. He plays with emotion, tempo, and swagger. He can execute the plan or create one on the fly. And to coaches like Stefanski, guys who script the first 15 plays like gospel, that's terrifying. They don't want unpredictability. They want predictability, disguised as discipline. But that fear, that need for control, that's exactly what kills potential. It's the kind of mindset that leads to generational players like Lamar Jackson being asked to play like pocket passers. It's why dynamic rookies get buried while the offense bleeds out slowly on Sundays. And it's not just hurting Shedeur, it's hurting the entire franchise. You think the rest of the locker room isn't noticing? Players know when a coach isn't putting the best guy on the field. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. It affects energy, morale, culture. And it's not just about winning games. It's about building something real. Because if Stefanski was smart, he'd realize this is about more than football. This is about showing every young athlete watching, every recruit, every college star, every backup QB, that Cleveland is a place that believes in its future. That it's a team where talent gets nurtured, not neutered. That if you show up, work hard, and perform, you'll play. But that's not what's happening right now. What's happening is this. The Browns are gaslighting their own fan base into thinking patience is a strategy, when in reality, it's paralysis. And Jimmy Haslam? He knows paralysis when he sees it. He's seen it too many times. And whether you love or hate him, one thing's always been true. When he gets fed up, he acts. He fired Hugh Jackson when the locker room turned toxic. He fired Freddie Kitchens when the media became a weekly roast session. And now, Kevin Stefanski is teetering, because unlike past coaches, he's not just losing games. He's losing the narrative. And in today's NFL, that's just as fatal. So let's play this out. If things continue on this trajectory, if Shedeur continues to be shelved, the Browns continue to underperform, and Stefanski continues to speak in post-game platitudes, then it's only a matter of weeks before this erupts. The media will escalate. The locker room will leak. And Haslam will be faced with the ultimate decision. Keep the coach or keep the quarterback. And we already know who fans are picking. Because for all his youth, all his flash, all his confidence, Shedeur Sanders has done something Stefanski hasn't in years. He's made people believe again. Not in wins, not in playoff hopes, but in potential. He's made people feel like the Browns have something real, something worth investing in. Something that could actually change the narrative that has haunted this franchise for decades. And if they waste that, if they let this moment slip through their fingers because they're afraid of change, then it won't just be Stefanski getting fired. It'll be the Browns, once again, firing a future they were too scared to embrace. The Browns aren't just flirting with disaster. They're married to it, taking selfies while the house burns down. And at the center of that flame is one simple truth. Shedeur Sanders is being wasted, and everybody with a working pair of eyes can see it. Let's take a deeper dive into the spiral, because this isn't just about one bad press conference or a few stale game plans. This is about systemic dysfunction, a franchise that refuses to get out of its own way, a franchise that somehow finds a way to turn potential into problem every single time. And now it's happening again, with a quarterback who should be the crown jewel of their rebuild. You got a 21-year-old QB with the pedigree, the poise, and yes, the pressure-handling chops that most rookies pretend to have during combine interviews. And instead of letting him develop, you're letting him decay behind Joe Flacco? With all due respect to Flacco, he's a Super Bowl champ, a consummate pro, and yes, sometimes still flashes at big arm magic. But this isn't about sentimentality. This is about strategy. And Shedeur isn't just a strategic asset. He's a movement. Go on TikTok. Go on Instagram. Look at college football threads. Shedeur's not just known. He's culturally relevant. That's gold in the modern NFL, where branding and fan engagement matter almost as much as stats. Hell, look at Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. This league doesn't just sell touchdowns. It sells narratives. And yet the Browns are sitting on one of the richest storylines in years and doing nothing with it. No design packages. No backup reps. No public support from the head coach. Just silence. And worse than silence, dismissiveness. Stefanski didn't just mishandle Shedeur. He undermined him. That offhand, we're focused on who's starting now comment, that wasn't tactical. That was personal. That was a man drawing a line in the sand and daring the front office to cross it. Well, guess what? They might, because while Stefanski's busy proving a point, Haslam's looking at the scoreboard. He's looking at the sideline, the press clippings, the fan base rumblings. And you know what he sees? A coach who's lost the room. You think Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper, and other vets aren't watching how this unfolds? You think they don't see how talent gets treated around here? Because the message coming from the top is loud and clear. Conform or get benched. Innovate, and you're a distraction. Speak with confidence. Suddenly you're immature. It's a culture of compliance, not creativity. That might have worked 10 years ago. It doesn't anymore. Today's players are brands, CEOs, influencers, and entrepreneurs. They don't just play. They produce content, build followings, start companies, lead movements. And Shedeur? He's ahead of that curve. He's not trying to be the next Tom Brady. He's building his own path. Part Patrick Mahomes, part LeBron James, part Coach Prime. And for the Browns to sit on that kind of influence and talent, willingly, is not just malpractice. It's organizational suicide. Let's say this again, slowly. Shedeur Sanders isn't some third-string afterthought. He's a quarterback who came into the NFL with more brand power, maturity, and on-field performance than half the starters out there. And yes, he's still developing. No one's denying that. But you don't develop talent by freezing it out. You develop it by challenging it. And right now, Cleveland's biggest challenge isn't the opposing team. It's itself. And speaking of challenges, what happens next? Well, we're not in rumor territory anymore. We're in tension you can cut with a knife territory. Reports are swirling. Internal meetings are happening. Coaches are tiptoeing. Assistants are whispering. And Jimmy Haslam? He's watching everything. Let's not forget, Haslam isn't exactly the let's wait and see type. His history with head coaches? Brutal. Quick trigger. Ruthless when he feels disrespected. And that's what this is starting to feel like. Because Stefanski didn't just downplay a player. He downplayed Haslam's investment. He made a young star that ownership backed look like a fantasy project. And that might be the one sin Haslam won't forgive. If this coaching staff thinks they can wait this out, they're wrong. Because while they wait, the fans get angrier. The media gets louder. The narrative gets messier. And Shedeur, he gets more tempted. Tempted by teams who will build around him. Tempted by franchises that do value player branding. Tempted by coaches who would kill for the kind of upside Stefanski is brushing off. Let's name them, shall we? The Las Vegas Raiders. Fresh start, swagger, and a fan base that would worship his style. The New York Giants. Hungry for a QB with presence, confidence, and marketability. The Tennessee Titans. Desperately trying to transition from Tannehill's era. The Atlanta Falcons. Coach Prime roots. A massive media market. And a city that bleeds football. If Shedeur gets traded, he's not fading into obscurity. He's lighting up headlines in a bigger market and proving Cleveland fumbled the bag again. And the worst part? The Browns know it. They know Shedeur could walk into another system and start winning. start producing, start trending. And they're terrified of that, so they keep delaying, deflecting, hoping the noise dies down. But spoiler alert, it won't, because what they've done, intentionally or not, is disrespect the future. And you can only do that for so long before the future decides to walk away. So what now? Well, the countdown has started. If the Browns lose the next few games, if the offense keeps sputtering, if fan pressure turns into stadium boos, Haslam will make a move, period. And you better believe Shedeur's reps, his inner circle, and his family, Reed, Deion freaking Sanders, are already prepping for what happens next. Because Prime doesn't just sit back while his son gets sidelined and slandered. He'll stay classy. He'll stay strategic. But when the off-season rolls around, you best believe there'll be conversations. And if the Browns don't change course, those conversations may lead Shedeur somewhere else. And just like that, Cleveland becomes another team with a former star they misused, mishandled, and misjudged. It's a pattern. It's a tragedy. It's a masterclass in what not to do with a franchise quarterback. But there's still a way out. Kevin Stefanski could humble himself, could apologize, could recalibrate. He could acknowledge the heat, lean into the moment, and say, "You're right. It's time. Let's see what Shedeur can do." He could play him in design sets, give him real reps, start building packages that mix youth and veteran leadership, give the fans something to believe in again. Because if he doesn't, he won't just lose games. He'll lose the future. And that's something the Browns and their fans simply cannot afford. So what do you think? Is Stefanski already done? Has Shedeur been disrespected beyond repair? Can the Browns fix this before it explodes? Or is it too little too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This saga is nowhere near over, and your take just might be the next headline. And if you live for the drama, the chaos, the power plays, and the locker room politics, you already know what to do. Subscribe. Hit that bell. Stay locked in. Because when the Browns melt down, we cover it live.